I graduated with a BTS degree from Manipal, and then I went on to study Master of Science in Public Health from Canada and from McGill University. I graduated in 2021 and I've been working since then. So, my work focuses on public health research and synthesizing evidence for health policy and guidelines. My interests are mainly in infectious diseases and in child and maternal health with from a global health perspective.
Ma'am, the next question is, how did you get a job after your MPH? Because you said that the job options are great out there, but then job milna is very difficult anyways. So what did you do and what can other people do?
I used to work part time. So I used to work part time and I've been so okay. So I started in 2019 September. I started working part time in April 2020, graduated in June 2021. So I worked 1 year part time. And and making a mark in your part time work can actually help you gain a full time job, either through references through your boss at that time or the boss themselves offering you a full-time job with them if they have that opportunity. So for me, that worked out. She offered me a full-time job with her, and I took that because it was interesting. It was based in Cape Town. It was global health research, and it was very relevant. So I went with that, and that helped me. But for my second job, after this project got over, I had to look for a second job. And what I did not anticipate was the amount of time it would take for me to get a second job. So I started applying at the end of my first job. And then I was without job for like 2 to 4 months after that because it does take that much time. It can take on an average about 6 months to get the right job. This I know because I went to an employment services, like a government employment services provider, and I spoke to them and I was very distraught because I was not getting a job for a long time. And I was like, I'm not getting a job. What do I do? They're like, this is normal for you. Have the amount of applications you've sent out and the amount of interviews you've gotten is actually pretty good. And this much time is usual. It just take time, especially because you're a recent graduate. So what really works is applying for the right job, number one, tailoring not just your cover letter, but also your resume for that job. You need to edit out things in the resume or add in things, expand on certain things that is more relevant to that particular job. For example, I worked on a systematic review for hepatitis C. Okay, and this program was all about hepatitis C. So then I had to expand more about this project on my systematic review on hepatitis C, and I had to cut down the focus on the other projects that I have done. Right, other than if it's relevant or not relevant. For example, if it says that I need teamwork, then I would say that I collaborated with these many people, or that my team consisted of these many people, and things like that, or I led a team, or I led a meeting with these many people. So it really matters on how you tailor your resume and your cover letter. And once I started doing that, I started getting more interviews, I started getting more job offers. So really helps. And one last thing is networking helps a lot. I had a few people working in few institutions, and so when I was applying to a certain institution, and they ask you that were you referred to this job through someone working already in this institution, and I could say yes. I have to ask that person, of course, can I include you as my reference? And they would say yes, and I can include that person's name. So that gets you an additional point, an additional bonus point. Also, having references helps in a way that if they think of someone, if they come across a job opportunity and they think that, oh, but she was looking for a job and I think she might be a great fit for it, let me forward this job to her, or let me inform this person that there is a person that might fit this job. So that kind of networking really helps. I have reached out to people I have never spoken to before, just to connect with them, conducting informational interviews with them, asking them how they reach that particular point, and just just constantly being in touch with them. These small things help a lot.
this is something that I say constantly, no matter where you're finding a job, whether it's in India or it's in Canada, these are the few steps that, see, because finding a job, no matter where you are, no matter what amount of experience you have, it's still going to be that amount difficult. Because let's say आप experience भी ले लेते हो, the higher you have experience, the more you move up the management ladder, the lesser the jobs become. So, anyways, that is very difficult. And the things that you've said about networking, keeping in touch, taking interviews, that's something which I constantly recommend to everyone and to everyone listening to this, no matter what job you're looking for. But this is something which is constant in every podcast I've done. Dheeraj sir, Sankalp sir, Juhi ma'am, jinka podcast I will be releasing. Then I did another podcast with someone who's doing her own freelancing thing, but she also built her network. She built her client base by networking. So I think
Yeah.
networking is very important, and I love to stress on this fact. I cannot stress on this more. That's why so much emphasis on it. And
But there's
apart,
something I learned through experience though. Like I started off by sending in one resume, one cover letter, and just changing the name of the person it's assigned to or the name of the company. I started off from there and applying to like 30 jobs in 2 days, to taking 2 days to apply to one job, tailoring everything, reaching out to people, doing my research, and then applying. And and then it was like 10 applications and 3 interviews. So this is different. Like, you understand the quality of your application really helps in getting you the job.
definitely, definitely, ma'am. In fact, the thing is, let's say as starters, when you're making a career switch, things are relatively more, you can do the thing where you don't tailor it as much because you don't have a lot of skill sets. But
Hmm.
when you have a single focus skill set in a single field, this is the quality of the application, I think, matters more than anything else when you're sending in. So that actually is something which I will make a separate video on right from this podcast so that people can get an idea. Okay. So, ma'am, what do colleges offer campus placements or job fairs? I know there's nothing known as campus placements outside, but can you just tell us a bit more about it?
Well, some universities or colleges have job fairs, definitely. I know University of Toronto had a job fair. I know some colleges in Ontario had job fairs, where companies such as AstraZeneca or Moderna would come, and like a lot of companies and a lot of health companies do offer their job fairs. Sometimes a particular institution itself will have their own job fair. So there are job fairs, but there is nothing called as campus placement. There is for I have at least I'm yet to come across a university or college that offers campus placement. They are not responsible for you getting your job. But what they do is, at least my college, what they did was they forward every job opportunity that they come across. Even after I've graduated, I still come across a lot of job opportunities. They keep emailing us their job opportunities. So it's always nice that if they come across something that I'm not aware of, I do get that in my emails at least.
That's a good thing to have your college support you through the process, because
Yeah.
not everyone has that outside. So that's a huge thing that's there.
Mhm.
Oh, so, ma'am, the next question that I have for you is, what is the average salary of an MPH graduate in Canada, freshers as well as experience, and does the salary increase if you have some amount of prior work experience?
Okay, so on an average, a recent graduate can earn anywhere between $45,000 per year to about $80,000 per year. Depends on where you're working, what kind of job it is. And also depends on your previous experience, of course. But for us Indians, we coming from India to and going to Canada, um, the Indian experience does not always count for a lot. Okay, so it's not necessary that if you have, say, 1 or 2 years of Indian experience, that experience will always get counted. It doesn't mean that. It may or may not get counted, but definitely having gaining that experience during your education can help. So, for example, for me, I was working part-time for a year before I could graduate and before I could start my full-time job. So that part-time experience really helped, and it helps to add that to your CV because you have some kind of Canadian experience at that point. So that Canadian experience really gives you more of a push as compared to the Indian education, Indian
Even the
experience.
part-time experience.
Even the part-time experience, yes.
And ma'am,
In
what were
fact,
you
most
doing?
people I know, most people I know used to work part-time while doing their masters, and most of them worked in public health. So that really helped their strengthen their CV and their application.
Okay. And ma'am, what were you doing in your part-time experience? Like what, because there are a lot of different part-time jobs that people can do, but what were you doing particularly?
My research, I was doing research work, and it was focused on HIV and other STI infections, such as CV, hepatitis C, syphilis and gonorrhea, and then also some on COVID-19 research. And what else was I doing? And I was also helping coordinate a project in India. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, so ma'am, another thing which again came when you were talking about this, do